Okay, today's video, male versus female writing. You guys say male writing knows what male wants. Female writing thinks they know what we want. So, that's... Are you guys saying that even in AAA development, that's how most writing's going nowadays? Because isn't game development still more of a male dominated industry? Like, isn't like AAA titles right now? Aren't you guys saying slop or not liking it right now because it feels all the same? And you guys say that males know what they want, but like, take example of what's it called? Black Ops, Call of Duty. That's same repetitive stuff every time, right? And you guys say it's repetitive, but you guys will still buy it every time. Is it because it doesn't really matter the story? At the end of the day, all you want is the shooting? And that's what you guys are going for. It's not really about the shooting. It's that, well, it's the newest release. Same with like football or the sports. What you want is the game content, not really so much the story. It depends on the situation. Let's say there are 3 doors. 1 million, the life, the dream, or the woman they want. I would say they would choose the life they had dreamed of. And what would you say you want? This is actually pretty easy to understand. Look at the difference between the romance and Fullmetal Alchemist and Inuyasha. One is for men, the other is for women. The rest is easy to understand. Blops, what is Blops? Is written for bros. No one cares about the story. People only care. Black Ops, okay. Oh, they play multiplayer. Okay. So, let's take an example of Fullmetal Alchemist and Inuyasha. Was it? Wait, isn't Fullmetal Alchemist written by a woman though? Hold up, give me a second. Let me look this up. Because, yo, okay, Loki. I know Inuyasha was written by a woman. This is so weird, but let me just look up. Is Full Metal Alchemist written by a woman? Yes, Full Metal Alchemist is written by a woman. So, yeah, that's my question. It's like, you guys are saying that one is for men and one's for women, but it doesn't mean that it has to be written by men in order for men to like it. That's why I was saying it's just like the mindset of it has to be written by a man for a man to enjoy it is a flawed one, because a lot of people love Fullmetal Alchemist. And I was just like, wait a minute, Fullmetal Alchemist is written by a woman. But if you break it down as to why Fullmetal Alchemist, yeah, if you ever understand why, and it could be enjoyed by women. Like, let's unpack why, because I do notice, even though people could like both, why Inuyasha caters to women while Fullmetal caters to men. So, the first thing is the protagonist, right? So, the protagonist would be Kagome versus Edward, right? And so the protagonist kind of already gives you the mindset of who we're following. So one is the female, one is the male, right? And that kind of gives you a bias on how the mindset should be perceived, because like I know fairy tale is where has this one thing where people think the protagonist is Natsu, but we're following Lucy. So it's weird because we're seeing things through Lucy's point of view. Hello, Kumar. But we're following Natsu most of the, like it feels like it's more of a Natsu. What's up, Kumar? Any questions you have? And so when it comes to that, that's why it makes a lot of sense as to why there's so many ships when it comes to fairy tale. Like it's just like, dang, why is there so many ships when it comes to fairy tale? But then it's like, oh wait, well this is Lucy who's telling the story, and it's just like, oh okay, but it's more like they're dual protagonists, even though it's literally like this was supposed to be Lucy's story. Listen, I have my problems with fairy tale, but that's literally a whole separate video. Like we had to talk about that. But let's talk about Fullmetal Alchemist and Inuyasha. Honestly, I remember liking Inuyasha, and now I can say it's kind of just weird. But especially things like when you talk about why certain things would be like, oh yeah, like this is definitely a female fantasy, is one of the things I had talked about earlier with like having an older guy. Case in point, Inuyasha ended up with Kagome. Kagome, I used to think was a high schooler, but she's a middle schooler, right? But like the outfit always reminded me of like that of a high schooler, right? And then Ren ended up with Shishomaru, which is so disgusting. But like that, and then that's why you kind of be like, oh yeah, that's so weird, right? But other things to understand is like the reason why that's like what's super popular though is like because like the fantasy of being with the older guy, being with the more mature, even though I wouldn't say Inuyasha is mature, but he's a protecting guy. Yeah, like he's a protective guy. Therefore, it's like he will take care of you type of guy, right? And so that there's the fantasy. It's like the fantasy with Inuyasha is that there's a man taking care of her. And even though Kokome's special ability is with the arrows, the Kikyo shards, the Shukan jewel, whatever that's called, right? It's just like at the end of the day, she's always yelling out to Inuyasha, which kind of makes her dependent on him. And you know, it's just like, you know, it kind of gives her less dependency. So it's like, oh, I see. Like, it's more so the fantasy with Inuyasha is that she has her man Inuyasha. So, and then is romance of 15. Yeah, it's like he is the protector. And then even like his design, well, it is dependent, but like he could be scary or he could be cute, because like he's supposed to be like a wolf, but like he's a dog. Like he's a cute, adorable dog, right? But then, so like that's a catering an audience of teenage girls, right? Then you have Fullmetal Alchemist, right? And look at Edward Elric, right? First of all, look at the aesthetic he has, right? Edward Elric, yeah. It's a classic woman's romance trope. The woman needs protection, man needs something to protect. At least he falls apart emotionally. It works for some. Yeah, literally, that's literally what it is. It's especially during that era. So But then I think you have Yashahime. I think it was trying to go against that grain. It just ultimately failed. Like, no one really talks about that one. No one really wants to think about that one, especially with the connotation of thinking that Sashomaru really banged a child. Like, excuse me. Anywho, we're not gonna go into that because that's just so weird. So then you have Fullmetal Alchemist, right? Let's take it into the perspective of knowing a man. So, the perspective of knowing a man is that his design. Think of Ulrich's design. His design is cool, but it doesn't have to be handsome. While Inuyasha has to be attractive. And what I mean by that is Ulrich is cool in the fact that he has prosthetic arms, which people would be like, well, how is that like a romantic fantasy? Like, think about it in terms of like if this was for a woman to be like to simp over in like a teenage thing, like, because it's not just a prosthetic arm, it's a prosthetic leg too, right? And it's not like he's taller and he's short. It's not like he's like seen as the attractive one. As a matter of fact, they're like, oh, Alphonse is the attractive one. There's nothing that is saying like people find him attractive. There's like, as a matter of fact, it's like Roy Mustang is the attractive one. Alphonse is actually more attractive than this. Like, everything it goes against in terms of conventionally attractive for him. He is meant to be an underdog of a sort. Yes, he has alchemy that he excels more than others, but at the cost of losing his lamp and also his brother. An interesting design is always muscular, but it's only highlighted early on for emphasis. Yeah, like he's muscular, but it's always hidden underneath his robe. So you don't really see that. What you see is a small boy. A teenage boy. So like something that a teenager could relate to. It's like a typical like shonen protagonist. He has long tied up hair, so it's like, you know, typical like shonen characters are usually like the short hair, like, you know, something like with bangs and like either super standoutish, but his hair is actually really tame. It's kept in a tie or something like that. He's not really he doesn't really stand out that much. I mean, yeah, he has blonde hair and whatnot, but what I mean is like he doesn't have the spiky hair like Naruto or Goku or Ichigo. He has a more reserved look, right? In terms of his personality, he does also have like the abrasive personality, but he is also tactical. Like, he's not stupid. Which is like what a lot of shonen characters are, is that they tend to be stupid. Like, they think a lot with their fist only. But because Edward is not just strong, he has to be philosophical, because the whole thing is about philosophy, the philosopher's stone. He has to be intelligent, especially because like transmutation and X, Y, and Z, right? So he has to have so many layers to his personality, especially when the whole quest is about trying to find a way to bring his brother back, get his arm and everything, right? And then there's the whole thing with like all the characters around him. It's like the whole story isn't really about romance, but you have Winry, who you're supposed to be like, that's his love interest. Alphonse has mine, but it's nothing like all that stuff isn't really a focus. It's just kind of a side. You know there's a established connection with Roy and Riza Hawkeye. But even if it's not romantical, they respect each other in a way where they could depend on one another. And it's one of those things where it doesn't matter if it's romantic or platonic. It's that there's a sense of camaraderie where there's respect and that they are gonna have each other's back. And because of that, it's like you sense that if something were to happen to one another, like they will lose their turd, which happens. Um, I think that's one of those things where in Inuyasha you have that, right? Except when you have that in Inuyasha, it's always connected to romance. So like Kagome Inuyasha, Sango, and what's his name? Mokudo. Ugh, Sashomaru Red. I really hate that the fact that Sashomaru Red is one of the answers. So like every time it's like, oh, there's a romantic underlining tone to that. It can't be any type of other relationship to it, because like when it comes to like Fullmetal Alchemist, you have what's his name, Ling, and May, who are like they're comrades. Like May serves for Ling, right? And because this is like, I wouldn't say war times, but because they're fighting for the philosopher's sword for their countries, it's like they have something worth fighting for. Everyone has their own goal, right? Besides just the Shukun goal, like, and you can see like why they all connect and why they need to get what they need to get. And I think that's interesting in terms of even though they're both written by women, why they feel so different, because the main point of Full Metal Alchemist is not romance. Because with even though they're both action, you know that with Inuyasha, the whole point of it is supposed to be the romance between Kagome and Ichigo. But when it comes to Full Metal Alchemist, the whole point is for him to get his brother's body, his body back. And then it's gonna be he gets the girl. Like, but the girl is not really the main thought. And Loki, I think that's a good thing to highlight with Fairy Tail. I think we should say that for a different video. But is that what you guys trying to say with why you think writing with men versus writing with women are different? Is that what you're trying to say? Essentially? Because I think I'm kind of understanding it. It's like what you guys are wanting, like, but also it's like it's the way they incorporated action. So like the primary focus of as a MacGuffin, a person as a MacGuffin device. What do you mean by that? Because I think what it is like what it is like the goal for the woman was seen for like what the woman wanted, like for like instance for Inuyasha was romance, and for men is that is the journey. Yeah, so yeah, this big stickler here is that men want to go on a journey and experience romance as part of it. Women want romance to be part of the journey. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say essentially. It's like the big stickler here is that men want to go on the journey and experience romance as a part of it. Women want romance to be a part of the journey. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get with the 2 points. Um, hmm. Yeah. I think that's what I was like feeling. It's like, like breaking down Fullmetal Alchemist and Inuyasha, it kind of does feel that way. So yeah, that's a good point you guys bring up. Um, like I think there are still ways. Like I know we were talking about what's it called, rent a girlfriend. Like I know there's still certain ways where you would still want the harem experience because like in visual novels there are some dudes who still want this harem aspect. I think our Arya's choice was more so. Yeah, I think Arya's choice is more the journey of romance, a journey of romance. Like I think Arya's choice was she was trying to figure out what romance was. I think we never really expanded it though. So it's just like it's just like we were trying to get the kicking it. It was trying to be more a sense of realism approach, but let me see. Men want to go on journey and experience. Women want the romance journey of romance. I think more so though, it felt like the romance. I think what happened when we did though is that our journey felt like. I think no, I come on. I think what we did though. I think what we did was that we used the journey experience romance as a part of it. I think that's we used the male approach instead of the romance to be a journey. I think that's why we didn't really cater to the female audience. You use the hero's journey approach, or do you try? We try to break it. That's the problem. It's like we were trying to be more realistic. Like so, like instead of only focusing on the romance, like because like I said, I grew up more on like just like seeing more of the guy perspective. So I wasn't just focusing on the romance. And that's the problem. It's like some people want the fantasy. So we were looking at a realistic approach. So we were looking at, hey, we should have her with her friends, have her hang out with other people. Why just be with the guy? Why is the guy that important? Like, she should have a life outside the guy. But that broke the immersion. And what you're saying is that she needs to have more romance. And that's the problem. Is she didn't have enough romance. And that makes so much more sense as to why I wasn't catering. Something that might help you understand is watching Visions of Escaflowne and comparing it to a shonen. That might be a good approach. Kumar, I hope you write that down. So that's insane though. That's an insane way of looking at it. Oh man. Dang. Imagine we just take the opposite approach when it comes to Lloyd's playbook. We're like, okay, let's have the guy be on a romantic journey. And they're like, what the turn is this?